While electrical disturbances such as poorly shielded ignitions, neon signs, and power lines affect both AM and FM broadcast signals, the noise received is usually most pronounced in AM reception, as most interference disrupts the height or amplitude of the radio waves and cannot be separated from the AM sound. Since FM sound is carried within the wave rather than on the peaks, the noise can be clipped off, leaving the FM reception relatively clear, so long as the broadcast signal is strong enough. Radio reception problems fall into three distinct categories: noisy, weak, and no reception. Noisy reception can result in two ways: from outside electrical disturbances that affect the broadcast signal, such as those already covered, or the noise could be coming in through the back door, through the car's 12-volt power supply for the radio receiver. One source of internal electrical disturbances could be right here. If the 12-volt wires to the air conditioning clutch, temperature light, and transmission-controlled spark circuit are against or very close to the spark plug wires. The extreme high-voltage radiation caused by spark discharge can bleed into the 12-volt power system, and thus back to the radio power supply. To correct the problem, bend the 12-volt wires down and away from the distributor and spark plug wires as far as possible, as the effect of high-voltage radiation diminishes rapidly with distance. To check the correction, start the engine, then tune the radio between stations at the low end of the AM dial, between 550 and 800. If the inductive interference has been corrected, only background sound will be heard. But if the running engine causes a constant whine, there is electrical arcing between the ignition coil and distributor cap. Comparatively, a distinct ticking sound. Indicates a gap at one or more of the distributor to spark plug connections. To correct a whining type interference, check the wire connections for tightness between the coil and distributor cap. If one end feels even slightly loose, pull the wire and crimp the connector end with a pair of pliers. By distorting the connector slightly, a tight fit will be assured, and this is important, as a small arc, like 1 to 3 thousandths, will often cause as much radio interference as an excessively wide gap. In a similar manner, ticking interference is usually corrected by isolating a loose spark plug wire connection either at the plugs or the distributor cap. If a loose connection is found, crimp the lead with pliers, then push the connector straight on to assure a tight fit. As part of any noisy reception problem, always check that all connections are tight on the suppression condensers at the distributor, heater blower motor, and the voltage regulator. Tighten both the lead and the condenser hold down to assure grounding. In addition, also check that all radio grounding wire connections are clean and tight, specifically the generator to wheelhouse ground illustrated, plus the engine to cowl ground on Eldorados, the control arm ground strap on C cars, and the ground strap between the radio chassis lower support and instrument panel. Because FM broadcasts are limited in distance by line-of-sight transmission, complaints of weak radio reception are usually in reference to AM programming. Accordingly, the first step in any weak reception complaint is to check the antenna trimmer adjustment. For adjustment, tune the radio to a weak station near 1400 on the AM band. Then turn the adjusting screw until maximum volume is obtained. If this adjustment does not noticeably strengthen reception, the antenna must be checked for continuity. For 1970, a concealed antenna embedded in the windshield glass is used with all radios. So, to check antenna continuity, a special windshield antenna tester is included with the 1970 essential service tools. The unit is a transistorized oscillator powered by N-size miniature batteries. The removable cap is used to prevent scratching the windshield glass. Since the tester is transistorized, correct battery polarity must be observed. Be sure the plus or positive ends of the batteries are toward the tester tip, or the transistors will be destroyed. To check the antenna, tune the radio between stations on the AM band at maximum volume. Then press the tester to the tip of the antenna and turn it on. This sound should be heard. Perform the same check on the right half of the antenna. Again, the tester sound should be heard through the radio to indicate antenna continuity. If there is no tester response from one side of the antenna, but normal response from the other, the antenna is defective. Since the embedded antenna cannot be repaired, the complete windshield must be replaced. If the tester response is identical on both sides, that is, both sides squeal or neither side squeals, a radio reception check with a substitute antenna should be performed. To perform the check, remove the windshield lower reveal molding and air inlet screen. Then scrape away most of the white waterproofing caulk at the base of the windshield. To check reception, insert a 2-foot length of wire into the antenna body receptacle. If AM reception is still weak, the radio receiver needs repair. But if the temporary antenna provides better reception, the signal loss is isolated to the pigtail between the base of the windshield antenna and the shielded lead-in to the radio. To check the connector end, use the windshield antenna tester at the pigtail. If no tester response is heard through the radio, the pigtail to body connection is bad and must be repaired. But if tester noise is heard, the continuity loss must be between the windshield and pigtail. So, cut away the red potting compound. Along the top edge, keep the tip of the knife forward as shown, as this prevents cutting the windshield antenna wires in the gap between the windshield glass and the antenna terminal plate. If cut, these wires cannot be repaired, so complete windshield replacement would be required. Once the potting compound has been removed, resolder the pigtail to the terminal plate. Even if this connection was not broken, the high resistance of a cold solder joint could have been the cause of the weak reception problem. After soldering, visually check that there is no black sealer along the antenna terminal plate or the front edge of the glass for 3 or 4 inches on either side. Black sealer usually contains carbon, and any carbon bridge from the antenna to the body will bleed off radio signal strength. To insulate and waterproof the repaired area, apply an 1/8 inch thickness of clear silicone sealant over the terminal plate and along the base of the windshield 3 to 4 inches on both sides. While general purpose silicone sealers are widely available, only these 2 specific types of clear or white silicone sealant have been proved in radio laboratory tests to be non-porous, completely waterproof, and non-conductive when exposed to weather and road salts. Reseal the antenna with these materials only. In most areas, their availability is limited to electronic supply houses. If the complaint is no radio reception, diagnosis is much easier. To determine whether the radio is at fault or if the problem is within the antenna system, turn the radio on in the AM band. Then disconnect the antenna lead-in at the rear of the radio receiver. Insert a short length of wire in its place. Then buzz the wire with the antenna tester tool. If this tester sound is heard, progressively check antenna continuity from the radio out through the antenna. First at the body connector with the substitute antenna, then at the pigtail, and then at the left and right sides of the windshield. Comparatively, if no sound is heard when the tester is applied to the radio antenna connection, the radio is inoperative and must be removed for repair. While some of the specific facts we've covered are new, most of the basic information has been covered in recent serviceman articles. And almost without exception, the information covered has been the direct result of product information reports. So when you run into anything unusual or that has given you trouble, pass the word along, the condition and the correction, through a PIR. For it is this information that leads to serviceman articles and service technical bulletins. The service tips, so extremely important to all of us.